A lead developer on the popular RPG World of Warcraft Classic was recently fired by Activision Blizzard over his objection to using a policy that harms workers. So now, according to a report in Bloomberg, the man, Brian Birmingham, was a former lead engineer on World of Warcraft Classic, but had refused to give an employee a low evaluation. So now, said employee did not deserve the low evaluation. And that's really where the rub is, okay? Now, Birmingham was expected to do so anyway because Blizzard had quotas. I'm going to explain what that is. But these quotas were introduced by Blizzard in 2021. And it's actually called stack ranking. And it's I'll get into more details and explain what that is. But basically, it's something that hasn't been used very often for some time, and yet re-implemented by Blizzard in 2021. Fascinating. So now, it should be noted that according to Activision Blizzard sources who spoke to Bloomberg, a low rating on this reduces an employee's profit-sharing bonus and could hamper them from receiving raises or promotions in the near future. So basically, you get a low rating, you're punished, that hurts you, that hurts your career, hurts your take home. So now you would imagine that in order to get a low rating, you would have to be pretty deficient in your work, right? No, that's not the case. PC Gamer explains the process called stack ranking actually requires managers to give about 5% of their employees, and the rate can vary, by the way. It can go from 5, 10, 15%. There's always going to be those who score lower. Now, in this case, 5% of their employees are mandatorily given a low performance evaluation in order to fit on a bell curve of relative performance. So now stack ranking also goes by the name of rank and yank, and it was popularized back in the 1980s by General Electric Jack Welch. As I mentioned before, a lot of companies have stopped using this because of some serious issues. For example, stalled innovation and toxic workplace cultures coming as a result of pitting all your employees against each other. Think about it though, there's no teamwork because all of them are competing against each other because you don't want to end up as the lowest evaluated employee, right? So obviously you have to fight each other. And not only that, but you have to make sure that other people don't get into that higher ranking. So then you start sabotaging other people's projects. Back in 2012, Vanity Fair pointed out the issues with stack ranking. Back at Microsoft, who stopped using it back in 2013. Now, they wrote that Microsoft employees were pit against each other, which would incentivize them to sabotage project or withhold information out of fear of impacting their rank. The article laid it out pretty simply. Quote, if you were on a team of 10 people, you walked in the first day knowing that no matter how good everyone was, 2 people were going to get a great review, 7 were going to get mediocre reviews, and 1 was going to get a terrible review, which led to employees focusing on competing with each other rather than competing with other companies, leading, of course, also to higher turnover as the bottom were either disciplined or they were immediately terminated. Now, of course, when you have such high turnover, you got to retrain people, bring people, new people in, do the onboarding process. That increases the cost. Not only that, but it also leads to a very toxic company culture filled with distrust and manipulation. Not so good when you actually have to work with people to put out a good finished product that people will enjoy. And of course, with all of that going on, you have less productivity. It makes no sense to do stack ranking unless you just hate your employees. Now, that said, here's what Blizzard spokesperson told Bloomberg. Said the evaluation process is designed to create, quote, excellence in performance and ensure employees who don't meet performance expectations receive more honest feedback, differentiated compensation, i.e., less, and a plan on how to best improve their own performance. All complete bullshit. In fact, in an email to staff expressing his frustration, Birmingham wrote this. Blizzard executive leadership had justified the policy by claiming that it will squeeze the bottom. That's definitely what you don't want to do, squeeze the bottom. Most performers, as a way to make sure everyone continues to grow, and that you're going to do that, but keep this a secret. Keep the policy secret from employees. Birmingham disagreed and said that stack ranking encouraged competition between employees, sabotage of one another's work, a desire for people to find low-performing teams that they can be the best performing worker on, and ultimately erodes trust and destroys creativity. In the letter, Birmingham also wrote that if policy isn't reversed, that the Blizzard entertainment he wants to work for no longer exists. Damn. And that's true, by the way. Since the merger with Activision, or I should say the acquisition by Activision, Blizzard hasn't been very good. Now, as for why he's protesting, I think it should be obvious. Birmingham wrote that he and other World of Warcraft managers had been able to work around the quota for the last couple of years, but since they had cracked down, he is now required to drop an employee's ranking in order to hit said quota. According to Birmingham's email, or I should say before sending that email, Birmingham reportedly told a large group of employees that he had planned to resign. An HR representative spoke to him to confirm his resignation, and he told him he wouldn't work as long as the policy remained in place. He was then fired, according to the email. Now look, in a Twitter thread posted after the Bloomberg report went live, Birmingham also said that he had not intended for the story to go public, but since it has, he wanted to set the record straight and confirmed that he is no longer employed by Blizzard, and said that he would return if he could in order to fight the stack ranking policy from the inside. He also believed that the policy had come from upper management at Activision Blizzard, above Mike Ibarra, the president of Blizzard Entertainment. He tweeted, "We at Blizzard pushed back pretty hard in 2021, and I truly believe we had reversed the developing quota policy. But when the sexual harassment lawsuit was revealed later that year, we saw some change following that as well, and it felt like we can make an impact on ABK policies. But the realization that there is still a minimum quota for developing, despite our objections and sternly worded letters, leads me to believe that I was operating under an illusion." Well, yes, that would be true. You were. But hey, at least you saw the problem and was like, you know what? I'm done. Unless you change this policy, which makes me punish my own developers, my own workers, then yeah, I'm out. I can't do this. Now, he also said this: "I hope Blizzard's positive culture can overcome ABK's poison, but it isn't succeeding in doing that yet. I bear no ill will toward my former colleagues at Blizzard. The Blizzard I knew and always wanted to work for is being torn apart by the executives at ABK, and it makes me sad. I truly respect the developers I worked with at Blizzard. I can't participate in a policy that lets ABK steal money from deserving employees, and I can't be made to lie about it either." This guy, mad respect for laying it out the way that it is. It is a poison. And again, this is all for profit. Executives at Activision Blizzard are, just add this to the long list of labor problems that the gaming industry, again, it's Activision Blizzard, but it's also Epic Games. It's also, this and that other company here at Ubisoft, you name it. The entire games industry has a huge problem with labor. And they are the problem because they are crushing labor. It's a great example of how anti-worker this and many other industries are. Again, crunch culture, where you set up a situation where you crunch workers 16 hours a day at least to try to, get a game out as fast as possible to hit the marketing or, deadlines, even if, by the way, the game is not finished. And then you also have, of course, sexism in the workplace. And a lot of this is also the result of lack of union representation in the workplace. And as I mentioned before, mergers, acquisitions, big companies coming in and buying up small studios. And then they either, axe the development team or, they just completely, destroy the company and then take ownership of the IPs, of which sometimes they'll develop and a lot of times they'll just completely kill the IP. Or they'll do, things like push for monetization, loot boxes, microtransactions, live service games or games as a service, or just, releasing just massive buggy messes at full price. Supposed to be AAA. Unfinished. Not good. This is what's going on. And then, you add in the stack ranking stuff. At least for Activision Blizzard, I wouldn't be surprised if there are other game developers that also do the same thing. This is what's poisoning the game industry. And it's not just the games industry. Again, it's pretty much every corporation. For a long time, companies like Microsoft, but not just Microsoft, Amazon, General Electric is the one who started it. So it definitely applies in other industries as well. But even Amazon is like, oh, no, that's too anti-worker. We're not going to go there. We're going to quit doing that after we are called out. Look, I'm hoping that they'll get rid of this, and I'm hoping there will start to be more labor representation in the gaming industry for these workers. I remember, when people would think that working for a place like Activision Blizzard, or just at the time Blizzard Entertainment, would be a dream job. Oh my God, I get to develop video games and I get to do video games for a living. That was awesome. No, it turns out what was a dream, it's actually a nightmare. And it chews you up and spits you out because of capitalism. I'm glad Birmingham went public. This does need to get more attention. I'm glad Insider picked it up. I'm glad other places have picked it up and have been talking about this, because it's just one more example of an exploitative and toxic workplace condition that proves that we need a strong labor movement in this country. Not just in the sectors of gaming and technology or Silicon Valley, or, Starbucks, but just across the country and across all industries.